today is a big day in the world of politics. You may have not even noticed it if you're not in the state of Florida, but there are 2 House special elections happening today. Those are replacing the seats that were previously held by Matt Gaetz and by Mike Waltz. So both of those now are up for grabs.
In the House of Representatives, as it stands, we have 218 to 213. So that's Republicans to Democrats. 218 is obviously the majority at this time, but there are 4 vacancies right now in the House. 2 of these are the seats that are holding special elections today in Florida, and then 2 are seats where the member of Congress passed away actually this year. So in those 2 vacant seats, they were where there were deaths, those were Democrat seats, and these are 2 Republican seats up today in Florida. If the Democrats were able to maintain the 2 seats that they lost, as well as pick up the 2 today, Republicans would only have a 1-seat majority, making it very difficult, as we've seen, to get the Republicans to coalesce around certain items in the House to move forward with an agenda. You think of people like Thomas Massie, who has a very independent streak within the Republican Party. If you are trying to move forward with the president's agenda, losing even just 1 vote, and it could come from any of the 218 members along the line, you fail to be able to pass the agenda of President Trump.
Right. You're in the state of Florida. You need to make sure you're getting out and voting. I know it's hard sometimes on these to even remember that these special elections are happening. But today you have options to go out and vote. So make sure if you're in Florida, pay attention because these are very critical. So much so, you got to think about it this way. Even CNN has decided to do an election night special. Not just their normal coverage. Of course, that usually means to pop a rating, but that also means because it matters. Because these are in these moments. And look, as President Trump was selecting his cabinet, there was a little bit of hesitancy of you were pulling some of the strongest conservatives out of their spots and making sure that you had people who could replace them in a good way, in a quick way. And I think what you probably have is in the Panhandle, which is where Jimmy Petronis is up for it. I think likely that's going to go to him. Still get out and vote and make sure that your voice is being heard either way. But then this other seat, which was where Waltz was, it's a little unclear. It's way closer than most people expected.
That's right. The district that Waltz represented was a plus 30 for Trump. So President Trump had 30% more in that district when it came to the vote in November. Now what we're seeing is that the Republicans have a 25,000 early vote. So when they look at how you registered, how you voted, 25,000 advantage to Democrats that have voted early, but there's another 27,000 voters that are neither registered as Republican nor Democrat that have voted by mail or early. So there's concern there. There's also huge voter turnout, they're saying, in the Panhandle where Jimmy Petronis is running. So that is one of the major reasons why Elise Stefanik was asked to not become the UN ambassador at this time, is because they're kind of concerned right now about the balance of power.
But not only are those special elections happening, there's also an election happening in Wisconsin. I know that was a breaking news item this morning as I was kind of flipping through the channels.
That's right. And that has actually gotten more focus, I feel like, than even this special election, which could have ramifications on the agenda right now. But the Wisconsin judges, they elect their judges to the Supreme Court in Wisconsin. And the angle there, they had people like Scott Pressler, who did a large get out the vote effort in Pennsylvania, and a lot of people credit with helping flip that state. But when you look at what's going on in Wisconsin, is that if they elect this judge, the concern is, because the Democrats within the state house have already said they will push for redistricting in Wisconsin to change the demographics of the congressional districts, which will in turn potentially give them 2 more seats that are currently held by Republicans. If they redistrict it, then they can change the makeup of their congressional delegation. So that's a concern looking even towards the midterms. And if they are able to survive the challenge from Republicans when they redraw these maps, they need someone on that court that can help them out and affirm it if you're the Democrats in that state. So that one has ramifications for 2 years from now. But really, there's a lot going on today when it comes to elections that have direct impact on how the agenda going forward will play out.
Yeah, I'd love to know if you're in Wisconsin, but really if you're in Florida in one of these areas, how's it looking? Are you seeing a lot of political ads, or does it feel like the spend is bigger? Because we know the spends have been bigger in the advertising world than there have been in a long time, especially for these kind of elections. Usually this is not where the big dollars show up. Maybe not during special elections specifically. Usually this is, all right, well, whatever Republican or Democrat, that's usually who's going to win, and the money isn't there. But we know a lot of money is being spent. So I'm curious, if you're in one of those areas in Florida, are you hearing this? Are you seeing this? If you're watching online.
I did want to get your take. There's elections going on today. There's 2 House seats in Florida for the seats that were formerly held by Matt Gaetz and Mike Waltz. And then there's that election in Wisconsin. Normally people don't pay attention to special elections right after a big national election, or even a Supreme Court judge for the state of Wisconsin. But these could have real impacts on the Trump agenda and even the midterms as we look forward to that. As scary as that sounds, that we're already potentially even talking about that. I just want to get your take on what we're seeing and what the political impact could be.
Well, look, it's very important that people get out and vote. We can't get complacent. If you believe in conservative values, then you've got to get out and vote. If you're in Florida 1 or 6 district, if you're in Wisconsin and you're hearing this, if you know of people in these areas, please get them out to vote. It's incredibly important. You can't complain if you're not out there voting. And this is one of those times where not a lot of people are remembering to go vote. It's not a traditional voting time of year, but it is incredibly important to get out and vote. If you live in Wisconsin, if you know someone in Wisconsin, get out and vote. In Florida 6 and Florida 1, get out and vote.
I think we all can see the news. We can watch what's going on, but, it's never really clear what's happening inside these state elections. I think Florida, a lot of people, I'm seeing comments going right now saying, well, of course Florida's going to go red. It's like you don't really understand the landscape of that state. Florida, of course, right now has become much more conservative over the years. Over the last decade, it has turned into really a red hot state, if you will, because it really wasn't. We grew up there. We spent a lot of time there. It would flip-flop all the time. It was one of the major deciding states. That's changed for the presidential election. This is really voter turnout. Can you get people, like you said, to care and to go and vote 4 or 5 months, 6 months after they just did this general election and get people excited?